Aloha, aloha, aloha. How's everybody doing today? So I hope we're having an awesome day. This is 50 pips, rocking and a rolling, 17th, 10th, 2014. Not making any trade calls or recommendations because you and only you are responsible for the trades you may decide to take. And the fact that you're in here means you've read, you understand, you accept all the disclosures, disclaimers here on the website and everywhere else, understanding that we're just performing some live technical analysis in a learning context for educational purposes only. As usual, all the sessions are recorded. You'll get an email with the recording as soon as it's over, as long as you use it for your own personal use only. Nobody will be blocked, nobody will be banned, and we'll all behave as one big happy family. So how's it going, guys? Sorry for the delay. Again, little update today. Usually don't have a session on the Friday, but just want to do a 30-minute update or so just to wrap the week up for you guys as we discussed yesterday, right? So again, keep in mind that we've still got we have the University of Michigan numbers coming out in about an hour's time. Okay, so what's going on? So just to wrap up, I mean, we've had some volatility this week, but overall, very nice moves, very nice trades. So if anybody has any comments, any questions, anything they want to look at, just shoot. If not, I'm just going to go through. We're going to try and do about a 30-minute session and just basically update on a couple of the trades, right? So in terms of yen, what's going on, right? So we discussed the fact that if anything, right, we were, structurally we're looking to get long yen, but we're definitely not going to be buying highs, and we're tactically short intraday, and then we're flat waiting for this move back down. And what we said, what was going to be interesting for us, right? The very interesting play was to look at this move back into the descending trend line and into that previous high, right? And this was very interesting support, very sweet support. And even though we said this might not be the next swing long, we're going to be interested in trying to get tactical here and take some and trade this to the upside, right? So yesterday, as we came back into that zone, got those tactical longs. Very nice little action, right? You've got that confluence of the, oops, not what I wanted to do. We've got that confluence of the previous highs, the trend line, and then the 50 back of the move from lows to highs coming in right back in, moved back in, bam, higher. As I said, I just looked at it as a tactical play. Now this is my way of giving back because I'm flat on this. So if you guys are still long, it's probably going to run. But for me, it was just an intraday scalp. You guys, I got plenty of stuff on the book, plenty of this kind of exposure. So it was just a bit of a scalp. But it's very, very nice, very, very nice action. I updated you on Twitter. Price only went about, was it 20 pips against us on that? Now is pretty much about over 100 pips higher. So decent little trade. Let's see what happens. I mean, now what you want to see is how we close here above or below this trend line. But this could be the next, I'd love to get position on some bigger longs further down here. We'll have to wait and see, right? But for now, I'm flat, not looking anything. But clearly, you can clearly book some, stops to break even, and see if you get a bit of a ride here, right? Does that make sense? Any comments, any questions? Yeah, that shows that you're paying attention. There's nothing wrong with trying to keep the longs going, right? As far as I'm concerned, I'd much rather be flat, go home without any bias over the weekend, right? Just take it easy, lock some gains in, and come in fresh on Monday. But again, there's nothing wrong with holding a swing low. So I agree with you. Zen, flat, pips in the bank, and reload next week. A lot depends really if you're holding these swings or if you're more of an intraday position trader, as we discussed the other day. Whether you want to be flat at the end of the day or not. And there's no wrong or right. There's just different ways to tackle it, right? Okay, gold. Shout out to Miss Gold. What's going on here? We're pressing here. We said we suspected, the shorts would be selling back into that whole 1240 with stops above those 1250s, trying to get some off and get the roll to continue. I'm not a big fan of the trade. I think we still got some more upside. I'm really not interested in trying to play gold to the upside, if anything. To the downside, if anything, to the upside. And again, very nice move. We said, don't let the media and the whatever scare you, right? You look to get long into support and you look to get short into resistance, and the shorts were further up. Once we're coming back into the 1200, it's not because we break that you have to panic. That's an opportunity to get back long, right? Bam, moved right here. If anything, this is a short zone. 1250 will be pivotal inside that 1312, 1300, 1200 range. I'm not really interested in taking any positions here, maybe some tactical ones, but right here I'm flat, nothing to write home about. Let's see what happens here, okay, going into the end of the week. Euro JPY, this was another one we talked about, and we said it looked like there could be some kind of fake out action, and then it could be a good chance to get long, but most probably the stop would just be really too wide. So you see what happened. A lot of people getting excited here on this daily close yesterday, but really if you're going to try and get long off that with stops below those lows, you're talking about 170 pip stops or something like that. So it's not something that really interests me, right? As I said, if you're looking for longs off the, on those yen pairs, I think euro is a decent bet. But right here, I just think the risk reward is not that interesting for me. But again, as long as these lows hold on the candle now, you'd expect this to try and make its way back into the 137.50s, 137.60s. So we'll have to see what happens. But an example of something which looks, direction looks relatively clear, at least short term, but not interesting enough to trade from a risk reward point of view. And that's similar to what we're discussing on CHF JPY, right? We said a lot of people are going to try and get long here. Don't try and front run these levels, and it looks like if it does base, this could be a nice interim bottom for another move back up or a nice little retracement, but the stops are simply too wide here. This is one of those that somebody's going to post if it pops and is going to say, oh, it's such a clear trade. Yeah, but the risk reward is, of course, there's a lot of different ways to trade it, but really not that interesting. I think there's a way to express exactly the same view of getting long here, get long euro JPY through other charts with much less risk and a much more interesting risk reward scenario, right? And that's what we're after. USD CHF. Hey, how's it going, man? USD CHF, completely flat on the whole move. There could still be some downside, but we had those two zones: the initial short, the add back area. All the way looking for the move back into the 200 here on the 4 hour. Some of the aggressive players looking for a move back down into the space support. For me, this is done and dusted. Right here, look for direction at this 200. You see this, if we continue to hold heavy here, we could clearly see some more downside, maybe attempt to come back down towards the bottom of the box. But I think the quick pips in terms of these are done. At least I would prefer to hold some of the other ones rather than CHF or JPY, right? I think it's also important on a week like this when a lot of things keep on going in your direction to book some, right? There'll be opportunities to reload. There'll be opportunities to do other things, but you don't want to start getting greedy when you're in profit and adding to positions and getting yourself in trouble. You're going towards the end of the week. You want to think about booking some in. It's the discussion we had yesterday. It's not because a trade's accelerating quicker than you'd expect it to accelerate in your favor that you need to start changing your plan, your targets, and everything, right? Remember, it's like euro the other day or cable. Don't get confused by velocity of move inside range, right? Stick to the plan. 80-20, most of the percentage plays always to stick with a plan. We're not about one exception here, one exception there. We're about what happens at 8 times out of 10, right? And 8 times out of 10, sticking to the plan pays. Yes, yeah, we'll get to the yes. Don't worry. As usual, we'll get through. We'll look at everything, right? GPB JPY, again, on the sell-off, we said, if anything, gun to the head, I'd be getting long into that support. Not short, as everybody's getting excited. The short, this is another example. The short was here, right? What did we say when we had this daily close? There's a good chance this is going to roll hard, but this is a classical example where really you could try and trade it tighter later on, but if you wanted to be early on the move, your stop had to be pretty wide. Okay, the risk reward is there, but really you had this resistance that should probably act as support. It was a tricky trade. So this is another one where we said, look, wait and see. When this rolls, if it actually does, everybody's going to say it was the easiest trade in the world, right? But the risk reward is far from being ideal, especially if you think of the context when it happened, right? But on the move back down, we said, if anything, you're looking to get long here. You're not looking to be the last one on the short train, right? Getting long, we discussed this on Wednesday and Thursday. Getting long, stops below those lows, going for the pop, that TP1. It's still a wide stop, but, TP1 done. Let's see if you get a ride back into this range. I'd look at it more as a tactical. I'd be flat intra-week, right? NZDJPY, what's happened? Sorry, NZDUSD 50 is getting crazy. Kiwi, still in play. We talked, I'm still holding my positions here. We said this is very choppy. It is likely to be a choppy trade, but we're looking for this to try and hold back and move back toward those 80.40s. We're looking for this to find direction around the 79.30. So let's see if we can close above this today. But wheeling and dealing here, the RBNZ had that whatever. Overnight they re-put out an old statement. This is starting to get pathetic, but I'll let people who care about the news or care about that stuff comment. I really couldn't be bothered. I'm just focusing on the chart, managing the trade. No change. Let's see what happens. Okay, what do we got going on euro? Euro, as we said, it looked bid to us. It looks like we had to break above. It looked like it had some unfinished business testing above those 27.80s, and we're looking for move back into the 28.50s, possibly all the way in 29 or 30s, right? The big question here is going to be how we close the week. We're getting a lot of wheeling and dealing here. It's going to be key to see how we close here, right? Remember, we had velocity of move inside the blue shaded area means absolutely nothing. We need to close outside. So right here, we'll have to see how this trades, but clearly the range trade shorts, that's starting to look done and dusted here, right? It's all about where we close here, and if we close higher, we could easily see some more acceleration to the upside. I don't think there was a lot of edge on intraday trades today. Focus has been on other pairs, but here it's looking for direction. We'll look for it on the 15-minute in a second. We'll look at it. Cable, again, this is one of those beautiful ones, right? We said last Sunday already when we closed and we'd barely taken out those lows, right? And we talked about it early in the week. We said, look at this. Most likely, we're going to go out into all the data and everything. There's a good chance we're going to clip those stops, right? And at that point, don't be excited just because you clip the stops. It's all going to be about how we close on the day and on the week. If we get a close on the day, then we start looking for selling rallies for a move back into 57.20s, etc. Unless we close below those 59.50s, this could easily pop right back up, right? And then that's going to be heads up for the daily closes and for the weekly closes. So right here, this is looking pretty good, right? If this can close above the 100, this is pretty sweet. Let's see what happens again. I'd be looking to scale some more out of the longs today, not holding too much over the weekend, but clearly this is a pretty bullish close. We could see that nice little move back into those levels we were looking for. So again, all on track. ES, what's happening on the ES? We talked about all the pivotal levels, and as we were holding yesterday, what we said is, a bounce is healthy, right? The same way when we were at highs, we kept on saying that its price doesn't only move in one direction. It would be healthy to see a move down. Once we get sold off hard, we say it'd be healthy to see a move up. What's going to guide us, right? Well, we said what's going to guide us now is the 1845s, right? That's pivotal level. If we can close below 1845s, then we think there's a very good chance we'll go print 1804, 1800s. If we can't close the day below 1845s, we'd expect a move back into the 1900, into the sell zone, right? Into the breakdown zone. So again, very nice wicks indicating buyers here, buyers coming in, bam. So right here, the big question is how it's OPEX today, is how we end today. To me, it looks like we probably got some more upside. I think all the shorts will be looking to reload for the move back down into 1800s. I would much rather reload on Monday on shorts if I had to. If I were flat on my shorts or if I were managing shorts, I wouldn't particularly look to be adding today. But anyway, this is going to be the interesting zone. I think if we fail, we have to fail from a bit higher, but it's going to be chop inside 1845 and the 1900. But I'm looking at possible action back into that 200, back approach into that 1900 for possible sell zone, right? Yeah, Aussie and Kiwi, I'm still holding those from a while back, right? After those TP1s hit, just still holding those. And again, it's not that bad on those because you've got positive carry too, so, right? Crude, right back in there. What did we say? We said we were looking for a break of 80 and then to get long. Now we barely pierced the 80. I didn't get a chance to get long. We talked about, that whole 80-75 zone where it doesn't really make sense to produce. We might get people cutting production, etc., etc. But in any ways, we expected that was likely going to be the where we'd catch a bounce. You know, the more people on TV start talking about it's the end of the world, it's going to crumble, then it's usually trying to get long, right? Unfortunately for us, at least for me, you know, I was looking for a bit more of exhaustion to the downside below the 80. I didn't get a chance to get long, so I'm not long, but very nice trade there into that level. So, you know, let's see what happens. Let's see how this trades. You know, this could easily move back into the 90-50s. I think it's a bit early to make a call. Let's see what happens. But nice reaction at very technical levels. It was about time we got a little bounce there. But again, as we said, right, Aaron, all the way down, just not interested, not interested, not interested. Let it break, let it break, let it come to us, right? Now, Aussie, same thing. You know, as we said, it still looks like it's, you know, we can make a case for the short side and we can make a case for the long side, right? I'm still holding those longs. I'm still looking for this to try and make its way back higher. It's very choppy chart. It's choppy. As I said, you can make a case for both. I'm still holding the longs. It's a fairly, you know, it's a risk-free position, so no big stress. But let's see what happens. But I think you can make a pretty decent case for either side. I'm still favoring the long side, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. DAX getting a very aggressive bounce. What we said the other day is, you know, don't be the first guy trying to buy the support zone. It's a bit of a sucker's play. Through and now bouncing. This is not a really interesting action for me to look to get long, and anyways the stop would have been pretty wide. I'm looking at 87, 87s, but again, I'm really not interested in DAX. I just much rather focus on the ES, right? So I don't know, unless somebody has any specific question, but I expect this probably to be one of the first sell zones, then the 50 back of the move down, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. You know, in terms of Germany, what's a lot more interesting, right? What's a lot more interesting, and we talked about it the other day, is the Bund, right? We said just let it come to us as long as it's inside this range. It's just a choppy range. We got absolutely no interest at all, right? No interest at all. Let's see what happens. But the play is to fade the extremes, right? To look for opportunities to fade the extremes. And here we got that beautiful little move right back up, you know. Bam, all these wicks just taking out some stops, and then, you know, market putting in a daily close, you know. So once we put that, you know, this is the aggressive play to try and play a bit of short side. You know, is it going to even just normalize back into the 50 back of this range, right? I'm not really talking about moves. I'm just talking about this chop zone. Is it going to even move back into the 50 back of this chop zone? You know, that would be a nice little move. But clearly, as I said, there's no way I'd be buying bunds at highs. There's no way I'm getting long at highs. Let everybody else play with that. You know, the only thing I'm focused is on the short side. Very nimble, very tactical to try and play that move back into mid-range or play this failure. So that's very good. Again, I would not be looking to hold over the weekend on any short bunds. You can, but it's really not an instrument I like to be aggressive on and hold over the weekend. What's going on CAD? Again, CAD got, you know, played out quite nicely. We talked about those trades yesterday. Both those, you know, all the targets done and dusted on the shorts, both of the initial, the 15-minute, the 1 hour short. And again, you know, it still looks like it's holding. It could easily hold heavy, but, you know, as far as I'm concerned, yesterday the trade's done and dusted, right? The trade's finished. So clearly, if you're looking at it even on the daily, there's a room for a much bigger correction. And as long as crude bounces a bit, we could easily get that correction. So, you know, people will be looking at all kinds of lines, all kinds of trend lines for where it could correct to. I think the end of the week is going to be interesting, but at least for me, the week's pretty much done and dusted. What's interesting is that if you look at it, let's just look at it on a blank chart, just to put that into... just to make it a bit clearer, right? You see what's interesting is that we had this previous high, right? We break through and then bam, we're closing back below. So this is looking pretty heavy, right? Not only we're through that, you know, we're through this previous base here. So it'll be very interesting to see how we close here, right? Not only on weekly, but also on the daily. You see the pressure's still on. So we could definitely get a nice little retracement here. ES, right? We move back into those lows, and now double bottom, moving right back down into that breakdown zone. So again, as I'm saying, it's on that. That was the short after the break we looked at, right? We said, if anything, be patient, let it come back into the short zone, get short, stops above those 1900s for the next roll. Double bottom here. Now I'm completely flat. I've got nothing to do here. And the only thing I could be interested in is, if we get back at highs, really not aggressively. Probably Monday's going to be a more interesting day. Or, if we get a very, very aggressive selling later on today. But, I mean, probably not going to put any trades through on the ES today. Just going through the questions. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much on track, right? Euro, what's going on Euro? So let's just, it's a nice little rotation up. Let's just clear this up from the other day. And let's get on a 15-minute. Let's see if I can just clear this up. That's that breakdown zone we discussed that most likely was going to be defended, right? So that's still being defended. So here today, what's happening today? Well, we're just getting a lot of choppy action, right? Now, remember that we talked about also intra-week here, as long after we put in that spiky range on Wednesday, right? As long as we stayed inside the Wednesday range, it's going to be much to do about nothing. And we're still stuck there. It looks like we want to take another stab at those highs, but right here, don't get confused about velocity of move inside this about this area. It can move very, very quickly, right? It can move very, very quickly. I don't think there's a lot of edge here on new positions. We'll probably just people managing longs. I'm not a huge fan of shorts if we break back into those highs, but should we get some kind of failure, those highs might be interesting for a little scalp towards the end of the day to the upside there. But pretty much wait and see here, right? Cable, what's going on cable? Cable, again, we got this rotation higher, and it looks like it could be a little grind higher day. It's a bit early to tell what's going on. If you look at it on the 15-minute here, you see that it's still holding a bid tone, still rotating higher. So as long as this dip doesn't get taken out today, most likely we'll see it try to keep on taking out more upside, right? Kiwi, what's going on Kiwi? Yeah, Kiwi, I mean, there were a lot of different discussions we had on this pair, right? And I think we had some kind of overnight action, and we talked about, was that a week? I can't remember. Yeah, so again, if I remember correctly, this was like the beginning of the week, right? And we talked about starting to get long here with stops below these lows, right? Can somebody correct me if I'm wrong? He's got a question on the initial Kiwi trade. So that's where I started to get long, build the long right here. And that was the first instance. And we got a very aggressive move. We got a very nice move into those highs, right? Then we came back down, and I think, if I remember correctly, this is when I said on Aussie and Kiwi, I said, at this point, I'm just going to hold, and either I get stopped out for break even or the remainder, but I'm just not even going to bother look for it. I'm going to see if this plays out, right? Then what happened is we got this move back down, and we came into another week, if I remember correctly, right? That was, again, another week. We came into that week with the market trying to take out those lows, and it couldn't take out those lows, remember? And at that point, we said, very aggressive traders are going to be looking to reload now, still stops below these lows. As long as this holds, and try and play for the move back up. We got that TP1 again into those highs. Very decent range here, right? Because, these moves off these lows, they're about, 200 pips. And then once it broke here, we said, okay, it's looking constructive. Let's see what happens. So I haven't really been adding that much after this, but these were my initial primary entries, okay? And on Aussie, we had a similar kind of trade, right? Where You see what happened once we put in these lows. That's the line in the sand. So it's all being, we talked about the fact that the triggers weren't ideal. It was very aggressive trading, but it's all a play on those lows holding, right? And, you know, and at this point, you know, it's give it a shot, you know, let's see what happens. Does that make sense? Okay, good stuff. Any comments, any questions, anything any wants to look at, anything anybody wants to discuss? That's not what I wanted to open. Where's the ES? So again, here, you know, keep in mind that we've got more data coming out of the in about, what is it, 45 minutes or so, something like that. So again, we'll have to see how the market settles this week. Again, don't go being a hero towards the end of the week. It's more of a point of managing your trades, booking your trades, going home zen, going home a winner, and then rethinking about how to set up next week, right? We'll set everything up on Monday. We'll get trading for the week. And, you know, it's just going to be another day in the office, and there's going to be another 5 days in the office next week and the week after that and the week after that, right? So, guys, have an awesome weekend. Keep it tight. Keep it safe. Have an awesome one wherever you may be, and catch you guys on Monday, okay? Have an awesome one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.